How's it going, sluts?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ooh, that was loud in Chibby's ears.
Wow.
Turn down the levels.
Wow.
It sounds regular in my ears.
That sounds good to you?
Can you hear
I don't
us?
hear anything in my ears. I hear it out there.
What about now? 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 You don't hear anything?
No, I hear you out there, but not in here.
What about now? What about now? What about now? What about now?
Oh, shit. You're in my head.
You're in my head.
Let's see.
Okay.
That's better.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to put you up a little bit. I'm going to put Rooster down a little bit.
Put me down. Call me dirty slut girl.
Dirty Diana.
Call me your bad little piggy boy.
Wow.
Spit in my face.
Ah!
Hit the music. Hey. Welcome all you on this sinful, sexy
Ooh. Sinful sexy.
Sunday.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Chibby.
My name is
And this is the Puro Pinche podcast where we love alliteration.
Liken it to long-living, legendary Lotharios.
Digging deep into the dialectual dialogue of distorted democracy.
Conversations that combine chaos and collaboration, kicking it complicated style in your ear holes.
Fun of friends finding factual figments of frivolity for your whatever. Let's go, people.
So we're here. We're back.
We're back.
Glad to have you all back.
How
if
are
you're
you?
still listening.
I know. I'm glad you haven't left us.
Yeah.
Although some people left us.
I hope everyone's tummies are doing okay.
Oh.
In case they ate lettuce.
Oh.
Or Taco Bell.
The Taco Bell lettuce.
Yes. The doo-doo lettuce. Let's start off this podcast by saying Chibby was right.
I was.
Forever.
I don't know
Vegetables
why.
are the devil.
See, ask me how many times I have gotten sick from eating meat.
Mm-hmm.
Never. Except, like that one time at Fogo de Chao where I ate way too much meat and then I got the sweats and, anywho. But we have a guest on the pod today.
Yeah.
What's up?
Welcome, our lovely guest, Mandy Lynn.
On this sinful Sunday, I'm just here to blush in the background, y'all.
Oh, yes. We'll do some color correction so you don't look so red. Long-time listener, first-time guest? First time?
Officially in the pod, because we did the Johnson City pod. Remember? That was
2
years
tequila
ago.
shots.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I was not sober the first time I was here.
None of us were.
Yeah.
How's your tummy?
Good. I eat my lettuce.
Okay, but not from Taco Bell.
Not from Taco Bell, no.
Okay, good.
No.
Well, how's your tummy?
Tummy's good. I've been anti-Taco Bell, so in a long way, roundabout way, I've been right a long time too.
So the only time that I ever ate Taco Bell was in college at 3 a.m. That was it, right? Because it was like right there on the drag, and it was one of those things of like, you know what? Double quesadilla, chicken and beef, right now. I'll regret it later, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, we have since graduated.
Away from Taco Bell. Mm-hmm. Now we have 17 taco places with a stone's throw away.
Yeah.
Do you?
I'm a closet Taco Bell liker.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess I'm out of the closet now.
Yeah.
But
now the whole world knows.
I have a coworker who's 32 years old and had never had Taco Bell. And a couple of months ago, I turned him on to Taco Bell. And now I see him with it quite frequently.
Damn.
I know.
Converter.
Damn it.
Evangelist
Sinful.
for Taco Bell. I actually had a coworker who loved Taco Bell and was like part of their Taco Bell like tester squad or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I love Taco Bell and I know it's not Mexican food and I love Mexican food. They are two separate things in my heart. And I was like, yeah, okay. Okay.
I don't buy it. That's taco ganda. Yeah, I don't roll with that ideology at all. I'll say though, maybe this is my question. I kind of feel as though there are like time in your life food options or like sources that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a certain point, you should graduate from them. Kind of like Peter Piper Pizza is amazing. You don't really need to go there and eat after 15.
14 years old. Hot Pockets.
Great, same.
So good.
So fucking
But
good.
once you're like 27,
leave it behind.
maybe it's
leave
time.
it behind.
Mhm.
Taco Bell to me, if you are a college student, no matter how long, you're given a pass.
Yes.
But outside of college, maybe like a year after you get a pass, but you got to let it go, man. It's over. It's time.
Well, see, I was a young single mother, and 49-cent taco Sunday was badass for a very long time.
But that's the thing. You were feeding your kids, right? So, like, you get a pass.
Yeah.
You get a pass because the people that you're feeding are under the college age.
Yeah.
Well, and also now those two 49-cent tacos are like $4.50 each.
You know what? This is true. Who was I talking to? I completely forgot. I think it was my barber. Who was like, today I got 4 bean and cheese tacos with bacon. It was $15.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
That's for $15. I will make my own bean and cheese tacos with bacon.
Inflation, man.
I know. It's a bitch.
Yeah, but then there's capitalism, which tells us we can't take a break to cook our own food because we don't have time.
You know what? Let's that's actually a great segue. Let's get into capitalism. Actually, we're not going to talk about capitalism, but we are in a roundabout way.
Let's talk about economics.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
The thrust of our lives.
So let me set the scene here. For today's episode, if you've been paying attention at all in politics recently, you've probably noticed that the Democratic Socialists are suddenly winning elections and that establishment Democrats are a little shaken in their boots because they thought everything was fine. Quick facts. The Democratic Socialist and Progressive challengers have scored several high-profile victories, probably most high-profile Mamdani in New York. There were also some New York City primaries. There was a Colorado representative. And there's also been a whole slew of younger candidates that have been winning over establishment Democrats. Alongside of that, housing affordability, healthcare costs, economic inequality consistently rank among voters' top concerns, and young voters continue to favor more government involvement in healthcare and housing and things like that. But many still hesitate to identify as quote unquote socialists. And the Democratic Party is increasingly more split between its establishment wing and the younger, more progressive coalition. So for today's episode, I want to talk about, are we witnessing the beginning of political realignment or just another progressive movement that'll burn bright and then fade away as they seem to do? So to kick us off, Rooster, what is a democratic socialist? What does democratic socialism actually mean?
So you have to really give it up to Bernie Sanders,
Okay.
who put it front and center. Wow. Yes, we stand a burn. Who really put socialism out in the forefront, and then democratic socialism. He was a proud socialist in his great state of Vermont, led there for many, many years, still led there for many, many years. And when he started to run for president, that's, I think, when the first kind of real conversation about socialism in the United States kind of came to prominence. It was complicated in a good way because while the right will always bash socialism and communism just as an ideology, and most people don't know what it is, they really couldn't do that to Bernie because it's like, he's been there for so long and so many years. It's like, well, you didn't have a problem with him when he was, when you were working alongside him and passing bills.
Right.
Like, why is it an issue now?
Right.
Then I don't want to give him full credit because I don't believe he's the one who did it, but I will say he put the label of democratic socialist ahead of it. And so when we say democratic socialism, it's just a governmental economic taxation policy that think of it as society building. Like you take care of the society. The goal of the government is the people who are working the social programming that can help them out of jams, Medicare for all type things, like that.
Yeah. And to your point, a lot of people don't know what it is and typically lump a whole bunch of things, right? They think Bernie Sanders, obviously, but they also think Denmark and they think Cuba and they think Venezuela and they think universal health care and they think communism.
Right.
And they think that they all mean the same things. But I think what we're seeing from democratic socialists specifically today is the idea that that democracy should extend into the economy and be part of it, not just part of elections, right? Yes. That everyone should have fair access to X, Y, and Z. And what I think I've been seeing them try to like ride the line is, because like if you're talking about like true socialism, I think true socialism is the death of capitalism. But democratic socialists or social democrats are like trying to work with capitalism and a robust kind of welfare state. Right, because like we already have public schools, we have libraries, we have fire departments, we have police departments, we have Social Security, we have Medicare.
We already have social programs.
Yeah.
But socialism takes it further. But to your point, I think China is a good example, and for good and bad. Because China having their and they're still for the most part communist, but having their original like communistic agrarian society deciding to basically become a capitalistic powerhouse and seeing how they like, if you combine the two, you can do way more is why they're shooting up the charts and if not like the global power, at least number 2.
Right.
So can I ask a remedial question?
No. Yes. Not a remedial, but yes, you can ask.
What's the difference between a Democrat and a democratic socialist? Because I've always had the belief that Democrats already believed in all these social programs and.
So you would be right, but
but they lack a spine.
Well, so the problem now is Democrats and Republicans for years, we'll say even up until like maybe the early 90s, like Bill Clinton, like right before him, Democrats and Republicans weren't that far off. It just really had a lot more to do with like free market capitalism versus like maybe we shouldn't let corporations run amok. And that was kind of the big divide. And then things like gay marriage and abortion were kind of the other primary separators between Democratic and Republican candidates. But now as Republicans have shifted so far right, Democrats have also shifted right. So now they're actually more centrist. Yeah. So and so that's where you have this tension in the party between
the Hillary Clintons
or the James Tallaricos. Like, because he's technically a Democrat, but he's not a socialist.
Right.
I don't think he would even try to label himself that.
No.
But he is very much more of a centrist. He is very much more in line with this idea of like, I care about people and I care about like community organizations. But I don't think he's for like universal health care. I don't think he's for universal daycare.
You know what? That's a great question. I don't know. Yeah.
He's not.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, but that's where the conflict lies because at the same time, he's way more left than our Republicans in Texas.
Sure. So yeah, I think to answer your question, Democratic Socialists are the new left, the real left, versus Democrats are now the moderates. Is kind of how they're riding the line.
Like Democrats would still say like abortion should be legal. But if you were to say like, okay, well, do you believe in healthcare for all? Do you believe we should be sending money to Israel? Do you think universal childcare should be a thing? Most of them would probably say no. Or like yes to like funding Israel, no to like universal healthcare, no to universal childcare.
Because they still benefit from capitalism?
No, I think it's because we're in this wonky zone, in my opinion, where even Republicans who are too far MAGA now are losing the base. There's, I think what we're really seeing, and it doesn't matter if you're actual right, centrist, or left, you're starting to see this three-way split between people who are like, I just want shit to work regular.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to worry about my government. I don't want to worry about if we're bombing. I kind of don't care. Like, I don't want to know about it. So, if I don't have kids in the military, I don't care. Or if I do have kids in the military, I want to make sure that they're led by competent people.
Yeah. And come back alive.
And that it's for a reason. I want to make sure gas prices are okay. I want to make sure that college and homes are affordable. Like, those are, I think, really just center issues. But then on the far right and the far left, you have groups of people who, I don't think they're wrong in this, just believe the system is fucked. And that you can't want like a cruise control government because it's bad. Now, the reasons for why they believe it's broken are just wildly different.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we're at. And so,
but you bring up this point where, like, if you look at what's happening today, right? Home ownership, especially amongst younger Americans, seems like completely unrealistic, right? The idea of being able to own your own home is no longer within most people's grasps, it seems.
Or it's actually also moving later and later in life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, so by the time I'm 45, 50,
I'm
going to be able to buy a house, right? Healthcare, also one of those things that is like, most people spend a shit ton of money on, don't feel like they're getting their money's worth, feel like they're getting ripped off, like it's a rigged system. And, like, affordability seems to be like the number one thing on people's minds. And so because of that, like, I don't think people are out there reading Marx,
right.
I think that we're living through a housing crisis, student death, a rigged system in the healthcare, childcare costs, all of this, right? So
drug
problems, wage inequality, wage stagnation, all of this, right? And so, like, the thing is, when you take the label away from it, like, I really don't think we're in a socialist movement. We're in an affordability crisis. And socialism and democratic socialism happens to offer a lot of solutions that would help, right? Because, to kind of my earlier point, true socialism would require the death of capitalism. But we live in a capitalist society, and dismantling that is not going to happen anytime soon.
I want to challenge that. Not the death of capitalism, but the overtaking.
Okay.
Because it's not that capitalism is dead. It's just that it is regulated completely. Like, by economists, by government, by in a way. And there's even more flexibility on that, because while it regulated, yes, taking from, no, because then that would be communism.
But I think, like, capitalism by nature establishes the haves and the have-nots, right? You can become a have.
Well, give me a system that doesn't have have-nots.
But that's where socialism is not about, like, the have and the have-nots. It's about everyone has, right? And, like, similarly, in a capitalist society that encourage, like, welcomes socialism, the workers would own the business, right? You wouldn't have the business owner that tells the workers what to do. The workers would have an equal investment in the business itself.
That's a different type of thing. That's not socialism.
But I think that is within a socialist society.
No.
Yeah.
No. You have, like, CEOs and businesses in, like, Denmark. Like, they run like regular capitalism.
I mean, I was going to say that, like, when I was studying healthcare, I did a presentation on healthcare for chickens, and, doctors used to make house calls and trade chickens for healthcare, but the doctor still got more chickens than somebody else coming to, mow your lawn.
Right. Yeah. And so, like, those, especially going back to, like, Denmark, like, they even still have private healthcare, but it's because they also have universal healthcare. The private healthcare is very, very specific. And so it's maybe things like cosmetic surgeries, like things that the public isn't going to pay for.
Or a private room versus you have to share a room with, 4 other patients.
A different kind of level of quality of care.
Yeah.
And so, but really what socialism does is, and I think smartly, and what I think we do very stupidly here, is it, big word, demarcates across classes. Like, just because, like, if you're middle class in a socialist like country, you kind of also understand like what your options are. You understand what your potentials are, what your possibilities are, and also kind of what you have to do in order to sort of get to like another phase. Like if you want to go up, if you're, but you also understand what lower class is, and you also understand what poverty looks like. It's not to say that there's not impoverished people in these places and homeless and but like just because the homeless or people who are struggling or people in poverty have, you know, government housing, for instance, or have, you know, even basic universal income, whatever the case is, you know, as a middle class person, I don't want that. And like, it's fine that they have that, because if they don't have that, then they're robbing us because they don't have anything. You know what I mean? Or they, and it's, so it's to kind of protect the society of it. But there's still, you know, multimillionaires and billionaires and socialists.
But that's where I think like that's socialism working within capitalism versus the idea of abolishing capitalism and living in a truly socialist society.
Well, no, you're talking communism, because communism is the commune and we all get
equal.
That's communism. In ideal communism.
Sure.
But it never turns out that way. Usually it's the people in power, usually the military or whoever was king at the time says it comes to me. And then, you know, I decide how it gets dispersed. But essentially, like the what's the Marxist term? The means of production belong to the workers and everyone. That's communism.
Yeah. Okay.
Socialism is just like, yeah, we got a boss, but he shouldn't be making 300 times more than the lowliest worker.
Right.
He should be making 20% more, you know, or 20 times. Like, that's fine.
And that's the thing. If you talk to people about the ideas that democratic socialists are proposing without labeling that, most people are on board with this. You
always look at just the issues and the proposed solutions, Democrats and more specifically democratic socialists always win. Like people say, they're like, yeah, I love all that. Can we do that? But then when you add the politics into it and the Fox News into it and like the complication of labels in it, then people are like, oh, I don't want that shit.
But so that's a good point, because there's also a difference between campaigning on democratic socialism and actually governing. With democratic socialism, right? Campaigning is easy. You have talking points for days.
Trump did that, right? He lied on everything.
Yeah, basically, right? So it's easy to promise cheaper housing, universal health care, you know, free college, all of that stuff. But it's much harder to act like it's easy to point at the problems. It's a lot harder to think about, you know, come up with the solutions, and even harder to actually enact the solutions, right? Because like if we want to do all these things, who pays for these things? Who builds all these things? Who administers all these things? What happens to budgets like when things fall short, right? And I think that's where sometimes, you know, bringing it back to Texas, like between like Tallarico and Crockett, right? When the primaries were happening, you know, Crockett would say things like, if I'm elected to Senate, I am impeaching Donald Trump. Girl, you're not, right? Like it's, you know, it's an idealistic thing and it's a great talking point and it's a fantastic soundbite. But the reality is, no, you're not impeaching Donald Trump if you get elected to Senate. So stop feeding me bullshit. You know, like if you're going to propose things, there needs to be actionable plans behind it versus, you know, like I alone can make this happen.
Realistic, actionable plans. Yeah, I mean, that reminds me of Trump saying that he was going to get Hillary Clinton arrested as soon as he got in office. And
we got our tariff checks yet?
Right.
Right.
And so that's where I think people start to get worried, because sure, the idea of universal healthcare or single payer system sounds fantastic, but then you start telling people like, well, in order to do this, I'm going to have to raise your taxes. And then people are like, oh, no, not raise my taxes. And, you know, like to go to the idea of like talking points, like in a 30-second TikTok video, you're not going to explain to someone how like by raising your taxes just a little bit, you're actually going to spend less than what you do now in paying healthcare and get the same level of
Or get
care
more.
or get more.
Well, we don't like paying up front, do we?
But that's what we're doing with the health
We pay out
insurance.
the back.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of us don't have it.
That part. Too.
I raised 5 kids with no health care for the most part. You know, but also I was raised by a nurse, so we learned how to stop all the bleeding before we had to go to the hospital.
That's right. Before it happens. So it's not just like taxing the rich, which is a great talking point again. And
I think that's a big
that is part of it.
Well, I think that actually
That is a big part of
yes.
it.
But
that doesn't fix everything.
what do you mean?
By just taxing the rich, you're not going to fix all of the issues that you're talking about.
You kind of do.
You kind of don't, right?
Like what?
Like, let's talk about the housing affordability.
Tax the rich.
Sure. Yes, tax the rich. And
I guess for me, the question is, does money solve everything?
Yeah. In a lot of ways. Yeah. Like, think about it like
Does
this.
it solve our mindset?
We're put a pin in that because I actually think that's a good thing to talk about. So we'll come back to the does it fix our mindset? It literally fixes so much of the right now because, like, simplest example. You remember when everyone got COVID checks twice, and it was like, wow. Like we ended child poverty. We did, like, it's on record. Like, we did that because we gave people money. That's as simple as it is. And that's the other side of this is people are always like, well, how do they have the money to do that? It's like, we have we are, like, one of the things, as much as we bash the United States on this podcast, we are, without question, the most profitable, successful country in history.
Absolutely.
And so there's money.
And that profit has been concentrated.
Absolutely.
And has been unequally distributed.
Absolutely. Has
been consolidated. And we treat fucking corporations like people.
That's a big part of it. All this, literally, to your point, changed with the Dobbs, or not Dobbs, I forget, Frank something act, where it was like, yes, corporations can be people, can put their money behind political candidates.
Oh, period. Yeah. It was, it's going to come to me eventually, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I keep wanting to say Frank Lloyd Webber, and I know
that is so not it.
So not him.
Citizens United. That's what it was.
Citizens United. Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, tax the rich is part of it, and get rid of Citizens United, right?
But that's also taxing the rich.
It's
because
not,
if you take the money out of the dark money out of politics, that is a tax on the rich because all that money, they're investing, quote unquote, hundreds of millions of dollars to make multi-billions of dollars.
I hear that
then they use to, again, tax.
But there's a difference between increasing the tax rate and getting rid of legislation that exists.
So here's where the Bernie Sanders of it all comes in. Sometimes it's not raising the tax rates, it's closing loopholes. Period. Because, like, for instance, I just saw this the other day. There was this video about a town in Wyoming. I forget Jackson Hole, I think. Okay. Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Jackson's Hole?
Jackson's Hole on a Sunday.
Oh.
Oh my. Jackson Hole, Wyoming, for a long time was just this beautiful, gorgeous lubricated hole. And J.D. Rockefeller actually, in sort of getting all his millions, basically bought Wyoming and then gave it to the government and was like, hey, this is conservation land. This is gorgeous out here. Use it for this, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, over the years, and then specifically because of COVID, rich people found, because no one really, really wants to live in Wyoming. I'm sorry if you live in Wyoming.
It's beautiful, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, like you have to go to Idaho for things, or you have to go to other places for things. Exactly.
Not Idaho.
But what rich people found is, and states like Idaho, or Wyoming, Idaho, South Dakota, North Dakota, a lot of those places, what they love to do is they like to be very, very tax friendly to rich people so that they come there. Because if not, they're not going to come there. So what ends up happening, and this whole documentary was kind of breaking it down, is the people who live in Jackson Hole year round, work there, work in the community, they have to live in Idaho because Idaho is like an hour and a half away because they got priced out of Wyoming.
They're being gentrified in Wyoming?
In Wyoming. Because what would happen is, and it's this whole complicated mess where as soon as the billionaires and multimillionaires moved in, prices went up on everything from apartment rent to housing. So they can't afford to live there. Everyone who used to be able to work on like one job now needs 2 or 3 jobs. They commute an hour and a half one way to get there. But when you walk through, it's just like this booming metropolis. It's also kind of a ghost town because guess what? They don't live there either.
Yeah.
They'd come there twice a year.
Yeah.
And so like, but that's what I mean, like closing a loophole that says like, hey, you know what? You can't have more than 3 houses, you know, like in the United, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is a way of sort of, again, reclaiming land and reclaiming places where it's like, okay, cool, we can build here now.
No, and similarly, like with the construction of data centers, you know, coming out, it's like, hey, you can build this data center if it gives back to the community in X, Y, and Z ways, right? And that's what I mean, that like, it's more than just taxing the rich. You can't just tax the rich and all your problems will go away. It is
it's getting rid of subsidizing.
It's closing the loopholes. It's getting rid of subsidizing. Yeah. It's
SpaceX, for instance, is like the biggest scam on earth, and I'm gonna say that forever because this like we have NASA.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, they move too slow. I think I need my billionaire money to do faster. It's like all he does is blow up rockets and fucking do a shit job.
If you gave your billionaire money to NASA would do its job.
Yeah, but because he gets all these tremendous amounts of subsidies, this motherfucker is trying to buy a town in Texas. He's
create a town, buy a beach, blowing
up rockets over the Gulf. Yeah, blowing up rockets into the Gulf, which creates pollution. And then what was the other thing? And then that's what keeps SpaceX super profitable. It's like, well, yeah, because you're not using your money.
Yeah,
you're using subsidies and grants and all kinds of shit that should be. And so like that's that, but that's also a socialistic sort of shift to be like, tax this motherfucker, one, don't give him subsidies, and then like essentially pay your fair share.
Yeah.
Rich kids like their expensive toys, don't they?
You know
I mean, I imagine you take away some of that tax money and he's going to be on the floor kicking and screaming like a 3-year-old.
No, and that's the thing that like you talk about. What I fail to understand is how middle and lower America lose their minds when you say tax the rich, like it affects them in some way, right? And I'm talking about like the center and the right that are like, no, we can't do that, right? Like when somebody proposes universal health care or whatever, right? Whatever government program. And it's like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to increase taxes here, et cetera. And like, who was it? Someone was campaigning being like, look, if you make less than $500,000 a year, this will not affect you. And still, people were so like, no, we can't do that.
Well, and that's a lot of people that are for this that freak out that are at the center and the right are not even people who benefit or from
the current system.
From the current system.
Yeah.
They're still being taxed to death. They still can't afford the meal that, you know, they need to make for their family either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the elephant in the country, wherein winning the mayor's race in New York City is one thing, right? Winning in Brooklyn, New York is one thing. There's a difference between winning a primary, because historically during primaries, the most extreme people come out, right? Because they're the most passionate. Like extreme is too harsh of a word, maybe. The most passionate people come out. Often that means that the 20% on either side come out, but that leaves the 60% in the middle that doesn't vote in a primary. So there's something very different about winning in primaries versus winning in a general election or winning nationally, right? So can they actually win on a larger scale? Or is Democratic Socialist too dirty of a word to win over 51% of America?
Maybe we like it dirty.
I mean, you know, on a sinful Sunday, you know. But the ideas are like millennials and Gen Z are like, millennials are peak voting age, right? Like we are of that time where like we're paying attention to politics, shit's affecting us the most. We're the ones that are going out there very often to vote because like we have time to see what's happening and to do some research and care enough to go.
And we don't have much time left.
That part.
Not in life. I mean, retirement.
Yeah, to be able to do something to where we're not fucking, you know, working until we're 84 years old and die.
Yeah.
Gen Z is becoming more and more progressive, right? And especially on economic issues. Housing is a crisis. Younger candidates are energized, and we're like, you look pretty, you look old. And traditional Democrats, like, I think, are fucking disconnected, and everyone feels that way. But on the flip side of that, the Senate still heavily favors rural states, right? The Senate is an unequal system wherein rural America has more voice than non-rural America. The Electoral College also rewards broader coalitions versus the idea of just popular vote. Swing state voters remain cautious of the idea of like socialist labels, right? That's a dirty word for them. And Republicans have decades of messaging against socialism. Like they've been painting socialism as the bad guy since the Bill Clinton eras, right? So we're on like 30 years of that. And even many Democrats, even if they're talking about the ideas of like single payer health system, don't want to align with the idea of socialism. So like, is the biggest issue here branding? Do people just not know how to talk about it without being labeled a socialist?
I think the younger generation is just sick of fucking labels and want to be able to feed themselves.
Yes.
So when you asked the question about, I don't know what the question you asked to open up with was.
Can they win nationally?
Well, no.
At the beginning?
About the labels. I don't remember what the question is, but basically I think this is a revolution. You know, we've been writing poetry and singing and talking about burning the system down for a long time. And these young people, you know, can't feed themselves. And so I have 5 daughters, right? That range in age from 29 to 17. And I was a teen mother, and I was worried that, you know, one of these days, one of my kids, but every one of them has grown up and gone, I don't even want to bring kids into this world right now. I can't take care of myself, can't feed myself. And so, you know, I'm like, oh, I want grandbabies one of these days. But
for real,
I also understand, you know, and some of my kids drunk cry with me about the economy.
Yeah.
And that fucking sucks as a mother to know that you brought your kids into a world, you know, with all this going on. And they're sick of it and they want to do something different. And I think they're sick of the labels and I mean, young kids, whether it's Republicans, Democrats, you know, we're all being fed a bunch of information. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But at the end of the day, they're going to have the same problem. And that's the revolution.
Yeah. And then you have people like Marco Rubio coming out being like, we're labeling far left extremists as terrorists, right? And using words like socialism and communism and the anti-fascist and grouping that in with the idea of terrorism. So like the branding is an issue because so many people are being fed the idea that this is coming to take your jobs, to increase your taxes, to, you know, like, have you pay for her, you know,
sex change.
Yeah, sex change, basically.
Surgery,
yes, you know.
The branding's all old bullshit, and I don't think they believe anything anymore.
I don't know. I mean,
kind of agree with that.
I mean,
But
yes, the younger people. Yes, the younger people.
Let's kind of go back to the pin of like the mentality of it all. I think I have this thought that I kind of always come to that's like Republicans in power and Republicans who want to get in power and stay in power don't believe in hell, and that's why they say one thing and just do the actual opposite, because like they just don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
like Lindsey Graham died, you know, and horrible. Yeah,
girl.
But and then we have the whole Mitch McConnell thing, and it's like this whole thing where people are sort of like it's on record how terrible the policies have been, that the obstruction of Supreme Court justices that have now created all the problems that we have now, on and on and on. That I look at the right wing foxification of the United States as its own sort of nihilism, where it's like, you can't trust your neighbor. Community's dead. You only take care of yourself and and you work hard at your job and your boss, wherever you get a check, that's what matters. While leaving out without leaving while also leaving out so much other we'll just call it scam ideology and that. Then to younger generations and what we're talking about, they're just becoming nihilistic of everything because it's like, you know, shit, I'm nihilistic in some days because I've gone through how many fucking recessions in my life? 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing, Columbine, Parkland, like all these things, and nothing really changes. So to your question about like what the mentality of taxation and the mentality of socialism, and to your point about branding, to me, this is also part of the literacy problem. Is if we're speaking about the day-to-day issues of people and it's all theoretical or it's all charts and graphs and it's all statistics, people bristle against that. If you tell a poor person like, yeah, man, you're just kind of a statistic of your zip code and that's why your life is what it is. Yeah. They kind of don't think that. If you do the same thing with rural people, they're like, no, it's because gays in San Francisco. Yeah. And it's like, but again, that's where, that's also a huge part of nihilism, is that there's something out there that's fucking up my life over here. And part of that's true, but there's also things here that are fucking up your life. And usually it's Republican, you know, like Texas is a great example. All the Republican leadership that we've had for 30 years has not made anything better. And yet still, to your point, they're like continually like, we got to keep these commies out. We got to do that. We got to keep immigrants out. We got to do the X, Y, and Z, because that's going to be what finally, what like now we get to be prosperous. You had 30 years on this.
And you've done nothing. Right. But make it worse.
Right.
You know, but that's where I think it is a branding issue, in that, like, I don't think they figured out how to talk to people in a way that makes it click easily without having to go into all of these things. You know, like we've talked on the podcast before about how the idea of make America great again, genius, golden. That's all it took. It was these 4 words. People could get behind that. People made that whatever it is that they wanted to make it in their heads, and they followed, right? But there isn't that for this idea.
Right, because you can't say...
Because it's complicated.
It is.
Because it's fucking complicated.
But that's why I don't think it's a branding issue. I think it's a literacy and intelligence issue. Because it's like healthcare. You can tell someone like, and I know you know this, and like the homie Chris, who is also works in healthcare, we talked about this, I think, on the pod, where I think he had mentioned, he asked me one time a long time ago, like, do you really think all the problems are capitalism and just money? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, well, how can you say that so assuredly? And I told him, I was like, how many times does someone come sick to you and you have to tell them it's diet and exercise? And he's like, 90% of the time. It's like, that's what we're saying is, but it's not, it's as simple as diet and exercise sounds. It's a complicated thing for each individual person, for their family history, for whatever medical ailments are bothering them now after years of poor diet and exercise. Yeah. And so, like, make America great again, sure, that's branding. But with what we really have to do is we have to get people to tap in. Like, they're not even tapped in enough to explain to them why universal healthcare is a good thing. And then to your point where it was, I think it was your point where you said like, well, who's going to pay for this? It's like, it's paid for, man. Like, it's done. We just spend it in Israel. Yeah. We spend it on fucking missiles.
On defense.
In Hormuz for no reason, to start wars for no reason, to keep, again, like the military apparatus and industrial complex going. We spend it so that private healthcare companies keep happening. Like, that's the problem. But again, when you have a one-on-one with a person, it's like, okay, so how do we do that? Well, honestly, friend, I don't know either. And that's part of the problem.
But it sounds like this person over here does. So maybe vote for them.
Well, see, and that's one of the problems. When you talk about the literacy rate, okay, I live on the southeast side. And so every time an election comes, I mean, there's canvassing, people walking up and down the streets with all kinds of literature. And I make it a point to stop and talk to them, because you got kids making $20 an hour to pass out flyers, but none of them know about the candidates. None of them know, anything about what they're about. They don't know the difference between Democrats and Republicans. They know they're making $20 an hour. Yeah. So if you're handing out information and you don't know the source, you don't know I don't know. What, you don't know the issues. You can't relate that issue to your community. Yeah. And then we all lose. And, you know, we vote for somebody because we recognize their name instead of because they're qualified.
And then to that point, then you have the politician or the candidate who's running sort of championing their numbers, like, oh, you gotta see the support we have. We have all these people out there. It's like, yeah, it's the $20 an hour kids who can't talk about what
it is
shit
that they're
is
canvassing for. Yeah. And I agree. The literacy issue is a big issue, right? Because people don't pay attention or don't know how to research information for themselves, and they just take what's being fed to them, right? And that's a bigger issue. And sure, we fix that by paying teachers more and increasing, our public education system as socialism wants to do. But to get there, right, to be able to fix the literacy issue, we have to get these people in office first.
No, we need to get people in libraries.
No, we need to get.
No,
I mean, yes,
libraries.
yes,
Because But let me challenge your frame of thought just a second.
And I'm not saying like
that's
Senate and Congress, right? I'm talking about like from local governments.
But even like locally,
develop critical thinking.
Right. Well, yes.
And how you change that is through local school boards, through your city government, right? Like those are.
So here's another ideology that we haven't touched on that's also a problem is fascism.
Yes.
But again, like that's what I mean is it's like when you have, we're up against fascism, period. And because we are, that's also schools are in San Antonio are closing. Like nonprofits are losing tons of grant fundage because of what's in their mission statements, because of things that no one's even looking for. They run it through AI and they just have keywords and then they pull funding immediately, no questions asked. All that's happening
because of policies being enacted by the people in office.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
It's literally because it's executive orders, but that's not policy. Like policy is like congressional bills and bipartisanship and all that. Like that's an effective working government.
But an executive order is still a policy.
This is what I'm saying.
Created a policy and he passed a thing.
Here's my example. It's like if you're saying like, oh yeah, they're driving a car to McDonald's. It's like, no, dude, the car is blown up. They're just kind of walking on the wheel to go to McDonald's. And it's like, yeah, that's a car. It's like, no, that's a fucked up wheel. Like that's what we're facing. And the problem is they got to go to the dealership. They got to go to a library. Like they don't understand these things. And this is kind of where I want to come back to it, to what we're talking about. Literacy in general, but also philosophy in general. The thing, like we can say there's a nihilism problem. People don't know what nihilism is.
Yeah.
But I'll even throw this at you too, is because, for instance, you always talk about like we need a third party or we need to split this up. Okay, philosophically, what is that third party, and how does it differ? You know what I mean? Like,
it's what we're seeing right now as a democratic socialism, right? Like they are true
Democrats.
Left. It's a true left,
but they are Democrats.
No, yes, they're running as Democrats because we live in a political system that does not allow for a functioning third or fourth party, right?
Right.
But ideologically. And this is where, like you see establishment Democrats being more like hesitant. Ideologically, they're so separated from quote unquote Democrats who have become the new center.
But they're not that.
They're effectively a third party, but know that they can't win as a third party.
See, this is where
they're playing the game.
This is where I think branding's got you fucked up. Honestly, because Zoran Mamdani, he's a socialist in actual title. But most of the people who even get branded that label aren't. Like they get branded it and then even with the fear of being branded of it. It's like, but they're not socialists because if they were, like their policy, everything would be different and it's not.
Yeah.
And so like that's why I think it's this complicated thing where it's like there's a difference between McDonald's and Burger King. It's like, well, one's flame broiled. It's like you're not wrong.
But that's what I'm saying, that like this isn't a socialist movement. It's democratic socialism because they're trying to find a way to make socialism work within capitalism.
No. They're trying to. I disagree. I don't even think they necessarily care about the capitalism. I think, and this is where I think to the mindset conversation goes, they're caring about the people. And when you start caring about the lives of people,
yes,
then the rest of it kind of sorts itself out. Democrats just can't do that because most of the time too, they get funded just as bad as Republicans do.
I was gonna say they're still, they still benefit from the capitalist
They
system.
benefit so much from the capitalism. They get flown out on private jets. They still get to go to cities across the United States. They have multiple homes, like all this kind of shit. They give lectures for a stupid amount of money for what? JD Vance wrote a book about Catholicism. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, and then who knows how many, like, I don't know anyone who's bought that book, but at the same time too, like, I'm sure it's a bestseller because we've seen this happen in the past too. Like a lot of right-wing organizations just buy tremendous amounts of copies and don't even do anything with them. But my point is I think it has kind of similar to what you're saying. You have to get back to the people level. You have to understand that every single pocket of people is going to have different needs, different wants, different desires, and different members of that community. I don't think people in Montana, in a town of 32 people, should have to care about trans issues, but Fox News tells them they need to. But that's how also, like, when I say literacy, it doesn't even just mean like, can you read books? It's can you look around your fucking town and see if what they're bitching about affects you? You know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure it doesn't. And then it's like, cool. But yeah, bombing, Palestine with my money, our money bothers me. Yeah. But, as far as like, I don't care if they want to teach the 10 Commandments in South Dakota. Fuck South Dakota. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what the people there want, great. Do the people of Texas want that? No. Yeah. Like maybe pockets. Sure, go wild.
It was what we talked about in the New Illinois episode, right? Like, enact whatever you need to enact in your small area. We're saying the same thing, friend.
Well, socialists.
We're saying the same thing.
Wait, you asked me?
No, I was just, going back to the humanity of it, man. When you're talking about how we are taught now to fear our neighbors and stuff, the real conversations happen on the streets. And I had somebody tell me recently that they heard that nothing was happening on the streets, that the real revolution is on our computers, and it is absolutely not. And that's a bunch of bullshit. And when you get down and you talk to people, even people different than you, on a human level, face to face, there's shit you see on the internet you would not say in person to somebody. And you maybe get down to a human level and understand people's needs a little bit better. That's why they don't want us talking.
Yeah. And so maybe it isn't so much, whether socialism can win in America versus can people understand
Can thinking win in America?
Can thinking win in America, yeah. And, because like every generation inherits the economy of a previous generation, right? Boomers inherited the post-war era. Gen X inherited their fucking globalization that was going on. Millennials got the Great Recession, and Gen Z has a housing crisis, right? Yeah. Like, these are things that, like, each generation can't control what it is that they're growing up into, right? Because the generation can't vote, they have no power, blah, 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 blah. But once we get there, it's about like, well, what do we do to educate ourselves to make a change? And I think, to your point, I think it also aligns with the branding thing of like, how do you educate the people in a way that they can understand, right? That isn't then demonized with a quick slap of a label,
Well, I had this thought, and I just made this shit up like a couple of days ago. Fascists hate the 3 T's. They hate
titties?
They hate the 3 titties. No, fascists hate the 3 T's. They hate the truth. They hate teachers, and they hate tellers. And this is what I mean. The truth is a problem for them because most of the time, if someone has the whole story, then you can't lie to them to then run their life. You hate teachers because teachers are going to always try to, again, give out information freely, Tellers are the ones who basically are like the whistleblowers. They're the ones who are like, hey, this is fucked up and illegal. I need to go tell more people. And that's what they're all like, just on down the line. That's what
titties
they hate because they kind of all closeted.
They can't free the nipple.
Did you see that Hunter Biden interview he did?
Yeah,
I forgot where he was basically like, people think the problem with America is oligarchs. It's not. It is the closegarchs or something. He's like, DC is hella gay and closeted and they hate themselves and that's why they're enacting all this shit. And I was like, that's crazy. Go ahead, Hunter.
I did not. I did recently hear a Hunter Biden interview that he did with NPR, which was much more tame than that.
Oh yeah. No, he's having a resurgence.
He is. He's like, what was his tweet? It was something like, "Hi, I'm Hunter Biden, and you've never heard from me."
Yeah.
Because he's never really spoken out in public until now. Anywho, Mandy, you were going to say something about titties?
I'm just sitting in the background blushing like I said I was going to.
What do you think, sluts?
Yeah, let us know.
You know, is it a branding issue? Is it an education issue? Is it capitalism? Is it all of the above? D, A, B, C, or D, or titties? Well,
we reached that time.
we've reached that point where we were like, how do we diffuse the conversation? Titties.
Yeah, it's a good way.
It was a good conversation. Mandy, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I was scared I was gonna walk in here, wasn't gonna have anything to say, and here I am.
You got
and
plenty
it's
to
all
say.
good.
We've enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
And your blushing self.
On a sinful Sunday.
On a sinful Sunday.
So much sin.
But that does it for us, people. Mandy Lynn, where can the good people find you if they want to find you?
Find you?
Yeah.
If they want to find you.
Live Poetry Spot every Wednesday night. Jim and I eat during the day.
There you go.
Chibby, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Gemini's GEMINEYES, because I am not out in the streets.
No.
I stay home. I keep my ass here. And I
Playing
read.
Marvel Rivals. Yeah,
And
read.
read. And I fucking read. Rooster, where can they find you?
They can find me on the streets. I'm going to just be out on the streets more. I got inspired.
There's shit to do out there. In the meantime, if you want to support the pod, you absolutely can. Please like, subscribe, rate, review this podcast so more people find out about the bullshit we talk about. And if you want some sexy, sexy merchandise, you can go to puropinchapod.com/pod for the latest and rep wherever you're at. I get compliments all the time. You want a Puro Pincha shirt.
Yeah.
You want a Puro Pincha shirt.
Yes, I do.
You have a Puro Pincha shirt.
I do. I wear it.
Are you Puro Pincha?
Yeah.
Poor life, y'all.
Until next time.
Stay safe out there.